Hey, I'm Dev Patel.
And I'm Jordan Peele, and today we're talking about directing.
And our movie, Monkey Man.
And even more specifically, your movie.
Oh, man.
Which is one of my new favorite movies. And I'm just very happy to be a part of it.
I love you, man.
If a man wishes to challenge the gods, he must become more than a man. He must become a beast.
Let me ask you the first thing.
Okay.
What attracted you to this little gremlin of a movie?
When I first heard about the film, I didn't actually even realize that you had directed. I just heard that Dev Patel is starring in a revenge action film. I gotta see this. This is perfect casting. And then when I saw it and realized that it had an incredible director, whoever this was, and then when I realized it was you, I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
This guy's about to go on the ride of his life.
It was like it was a pretty magical moment for me. I was like, as a film had been dropped by our previous studio, He Who Shall Not Be Named.
Yeah.
And then I'm like kind of licking my wounds. I'm in the countryside of England doing a low budget horror film. And then I get this call from our agent and he's like, have you heard of this guy, Jordan Peele? I was like, come on. And he's like, Jordan's seen it. He wants to talk to you. And today, and we got on the phone and the first thing you said is tell me everything. Like, I know you've been through the works. Tell me everything. And we spoke for like 3 hours. It was like a therapy session for me.
Wow.
And
I knew you had been through a lot. And by watching the film, you can see someone who, you know, from a directing standpoint, from an acting standpoint alone, this is an incredible feat. But from a directing standpoint, I was just blown away. And I mean, I think to really get down to it, what I saw immediately in that cut was like, this guy is making movies the way they used to be made. Like, he's making a good film here, and he's giving us everything. It's like it's so generous.
Yeah.
We get the action that's better than any modern action I'm looking at, and then the amount of depth and the amount of attention to story and us believing in this particular revenge.
yeah, thank you, man.
Love it.
And it was like you spoke to all of the kind of corners and intricacies of the film. Like, you understood what I mean, as one of the kind of heavyweights of kind of genre filmmaking right now, you know, and you've really kind of busted the door open for a lot of people that look like myself and yourself. You know,
Thank you, man.
You know, the first time we spoke and you spoke about like culturally what this could mean, you know, infusing the genre with, you know, kind of our breed of action and also like giving people like vegetables in an entertaining manner. That was huge.
I mean, this is a movie, it's a perfect movie for Monkey Paw Productions because they ain't ready for it. No one, you know what I mean? It's one of these movies they ain't ready for. And so in some way, you sort of saw the future and saw a film that kind of shouldn't exist, but should.
Yeah.
You know, and you fought it. So anyway, I love the film. I want to ask you about what you went through. So this is a good question. You write the script. And at what point did you know you had to direct it? Was it from the beginning or was it somewhere along the process?
Man, to be honest, I came up with the idea and I didn't think I had the tools to be able to birth that vision. Whoever was closest to me, my friend Paul, I pitched it to him, he started writing, and very early on he's like, look man, every time I'm on the phone with you, you kind of like, it's flowing out of you. You got to write this with me. So I reluctantly like took a seat, you know, in front of the computer and started writing. I kind of locked myself away in a cafe in Koreatown in LA for about a year, and we just lived and breathed this thing. And then, you know, I sent it to Neil Blomkamp, the director of District 9, and I was like, yo, Neil, and we'd just done a film. And I was like, you know, you could do this and you could get it off the ground. And I, you know, I went to Canada and hung out with him in his studio, and he's like, look, man, again, this is you, you know, it's in your paws. Like, I've never been to India, blah, blah, blah. And I reluctantly kind of like fell into the driver's seat, the director's seat. And that's kind of been the process throughout. It's like not taking no for an answer, wherever there's a glimmer of light to try and see this thing through and get one more foot on the ladder. That's been the process. It's like, it's kind of like, it's been a ferocious process. You know, there's been a lot of prep, but actually it's a lot of adapting, a lot of things that went wrong, a lot of chaos. And, you know, it's kind of just by any means necessary type of filmmaking. When you first made Get Out, what was that like, and how long had it been gestating in your head?
Every film I've made has been just a horror show, both in genre, but in the making of it.
Yeah.
It's hard. By definition,
Yeah.
it almost feels like I'm not really directing unless I'm pushing myself past my own personal comfort zone. And I had some disasters to overcome on Get Out, but sometimes it's these adversities, these challenges that give us opportunities to make the film what it was always kind of meant to be.
It's the restrictions that make you more creative, right?
Yes.
I think, you know, sometimes I curse the pandemic for all of the troubles it put me through, but I'm also like, I got to be on an island living and breathing this with 450 individuals, and we all became part of this singular molecule to just birth this thing. And it's funny because when your name first came up and we started talking, you know, philosophically, not only is it ironic that your company's called Monkey Paw and this film's called Monkey Man, but I saw someone that, Key and Peele for me, it's like, I grew up just like, it was life for me, you know, the amount of joy I got from the show, and you just being, as an actor, just watching you be a phenomenal performer, like a chameleon, and, you know, being able to steal scenes in quiet moments and being able to sit back and come in. I was just like the cadence of what you did in that chef's kiss, but you managed to all of a sudden just take this huge radical swing in a different direction, and, you know, to step out so far on a gangplank like that and do that. I mean, everyone must have been saying, like, where did this come from? Like, how did you do it? But I felt great courage in knowing that you were gonna, you know, we were gonna be under your umbrella, because you'd kind of stepped out of I'd say a shadow, but it was a bright shining light into an even brighter light, is what I'd say.
Man,
but,
look,
yeah.
I love hearing that from you, and my experience, as you know, of meeting you in this film is it feels like, okay, I get a contemporary who I can trade notes with, who I can do this with, who I can hear war stories from. And you know, when I'm, you know, you're right, I've got this comedic background that just forces me to, like, be obsessed with getting everyone in the audience. You know, it's like a laugh. You know, you want everybody. You don't want to. And I think what I was so impressed with Monkey Man is you have an innate sense of the moment to moment. I mean, you knew this film so well before you made it, but like I said, it's very generous to the audience in that way. You have a very good sense.
It's a full meal.
It's a full meal, and the moment to moment, the audience is getting led on a journey, and they're allowed to be wrapped with the story that you've given them. So it feels like you know, somehow we kind of we come from different places, but we've arrived at some of the same principles in our filmmaking. And that is like, audience, just give the audience what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the first times I saw it with a group of people was actually with you and the team at Monkey Paw, like seeing it with like a few people in a room and understanding, like, wow, this actually could play not just on a little TV, but could play in a cinema. And you pushed us to, you know, find a pacing that would make those things sing. And, you know, it's kind of like adopting an annoying little brother is the way I saw it. And I was like, okay, there's Jordan there, and he's, you know, I'm coming in and I'm pushing it and doing this. And you were very gracious in, like, letting us, like, you know, test things and fail wonderfully at times in order to kind of, like, you know, not only did you guide us in the right way, but I think you let me attack the notes and the kind of studio process in a way that still, you know, kept the soul of the film alive.
You know, thank you. And this is, you know, every film is so different. Every collaboration is so different. You know, I remember reading about Steven Spielberg and how, you know, when he produces films, you know, he looks for, you know, to work with people of just crazy, immense talent. And
crazy being the word.
Yeah, crazy, definite craziness going on. But he, you know, the key is he will give suggestions, but ultimately he knows the same thing I know, which is you're the only one that knows the answer, Dev. You're the guy who's got to sift through all the notes and pick up what's right for the movie. And in the end, I watched you do that every step of the way.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I'll take the credit, but I think a lot of the credit I'm getting is this timing of, being in a place where you were like almost broken by the film, and you just, and you were ready to come back and finish strong, and so
you joined us on the last leg of a marathon, and then it became a mad sprint, and it was a beautiful, glorious sprint.
Well, look, I want to ask you a couple things about actually what you found as on set as a director, because that's when I wasn't around. I only know the war stories. So one thing is script or improvisation. How did you find in terms of being strict with the words or being fluid?
I think, it was very case dependent. There's actors like Sharlto Copley, who happens to be in District 9. He's a guy where I met him at a restaurant in LA, and I pitched him the movie, which ended up being hours and hours. And he's like, okay, I'm in. And, everyone had to come in quarantine for 2 weeks on this island. So even if you had a day or 3 days of shoot, but, Charles a dude where you give him a structure of a scene and like 1 or 2 lines to hit, and he goes. And he's, crowd interaction. He's playing off all the 150 extras that are there. It was a feat to behold, and you're just trying to hold on and capture it, in as many cameras as you can. And then there's other performances, like Shobita, who's this wonderful, she holds so much pain in her as a performer, and also she's just blindingly beautiful, in person and on camera. And, our conversation was centered around music and art, and in fact, I would clear the set and just play music for her, for a while. And kind of, that would imprint the set with a feeling of where, everyone, even the focus puller now is like, kind of, it's changing the way he's focus pulling the shot and that kind of rhythm. So it was really interesting in terms of writing, but a lot of it was rewriting. You had this plan, and then the border would close, so we had to totally rewrite the scene day of, or the bathroom that we were meant to shoot in wasn't ready, and we had to change that, or I broke my hand mid-shoot and all the choreo had to be changed, and, we lost an actor or this and that. So every time, like, you'd come in with a crazy plan that then you'd have to totally throw it out on a whim and be willing to adapt. Did you find that on your stuff? And how does it work when you start? I mean, I have a little tadpole budget. You're swinging now at the note level, and it's like, how do you maintain that fluidity? How do you keep your shoulders down? And I know on every level of process goes wrong. Doesn't matter if you're at $10 million or $100 million, more money, more problem, more weight. How do you do it?
It's the team that you put together. As you know, it's the more people who kind of have your back and support you and know what they're doing better than you know what you're doing. I mean, it's that's how the thing. You're building a team.
Yeah.
And the cast you build is so perfectly cast.
Yeah, they're a good bunch.
And they are. And you're right. Charlotte's kind of like your little Rel for me. You realize like, oh, sometimes you have this little.
Was he ad-libbing a bunch? Yeah, you can feel it.
You realize when someone has that ability, and you should let them go. And even if the improvisational moment doesn't make it in, it's you can tell when somebody's allowed to sort of live and be real in there if they prefer that.
So one of the main things that I remember in our early conversations, but the one thing you keyed on very quickly was music. You have a very kind of like, you have an ear for rhythm and sound and music, and that plays a big part of your process. But you managed to get us some cool songs.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of my favorite parts of any movie is toward the end. There are, if you can get some good, just being able to play around with the music can so greatly affect the film.
Yeah, the song on the credit roll, of course.
Just anything that gets an audience's head going like this is a good moment. But I thought the choices you made were spot on, and you were very, sometimes we would come down to, okay, this is what, like, the kid in me wants in the movie.
yeah.
This is what the storyteller wants, and
Yeah.
like these kind of choices. And I saw you go
Yeah.
through these
We
moments.
put the wrong one in sometimes, and then we watched it back together. We're like, that was,
Yeah. How do you feel about the directors you've worked with now that you've gone through the gauntlet?
Well, you're kind of one of them now, as well, in a different capacity.
I
but,
hope
like,
we get to
yeah,
do one.
but
It's coming.
I think like the directors I worked with, they've all like through just osmosis. I think I'm not really a technical actor, so I rely on putting my whole self into it, and I'm fully offering myself up to this person, and I'm maybe a bit masochistic by nature, so I'm not the best with compliments. So I'm like, just I really just offer myself up, and I think those ones that have really nurtured me, allowed me to be confident is the thing, and that's what I think that's the main priority of a director, is like if you can instill confidence in the people that you work with, because every day on set it can feel like a battle. So in every actor, I knew the days going, I knew we're never going to get this set back. It's a monsoon rain outside, we're absolutely effed. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if we have to do this 50 times, we are going to get this together. And that all of a sudden just changes an actor, because the pressure goes away and they know you're in it with them. You're in the trenches with them. I got that from Danny Boyle, who really pushed me to find a stillness. A lot of Slumdog and that energy and freneticism that him and Anthony Dodd Mantle, the cinematographer, has found its way into this. Garth, who I did a film Lion with, and David Lowery, those two brought the philosophy, the more bold brushstrokes, the stillness, those kind of more spiritual moments. And then you came in and helped me, just find the fun and the laughs, and also, like I said, the music, and those finishing moments are the most crucial moments of a film. Yeah, that was really a blessing, man.
It was an honor to get to produce this movie, and you direct the hell out of it, and you act the hell out of it, and
I love you, brother.
this is the beginning of a beautiful thing, my friend.